This is a story that's drawn from your own experience. So can you talk about what it was that compelled you to tell it in such a powerful way?
I mean, I think there's a lot of, obviously there are a lot of movies about music, and the one thing that I kind of felt a lot as a musician that I felt hadn't been represented was, I guess, two things. One, the sort of raw fear that I felt as a musician a lot, the kind of not just stage fright, but fear of a conductor, fear of other musicians, and for no reason. And also I think just the idea of kind of practice, I think for obvious reasons, a lot of movies about music deal with people who are already kind of fully formed as musicians, and it's more about the world of ideas and self-expression, and all of which are crucial parts of artistry and certainly of jazz. But the idea of kind of when you're at that earlier stage where you have to hone your clock, or if you're playing a wind instrument, you have to hone your scales. It's just that idea of basic practice and how important that is and how difficult that alone can be. I felt like I hadn't really seen on film. So that was my experience as a drummer. I felt like it gave me a way into the music world that felt fresh to me.
And can I ask you about the choice of structure? Because really this is a film that plays like a high-octane thriller or a kind of competitive sports film. And what made you sort of choose that mode of telling the story?
Again, I think it all started with that emotion, just the emotion of fear and of kind of, but the fear was always coupled with sort of very high moments, So my experiences as a drummer would be just kind of, 90% gnawing dread leading up to a rehearsal or a concert or something like that, and then occasionally, once a year or something, that kind of that high moment when you actually get something right, or you earn the approval of the conductor, or you earn the approval of an audience, and it's this wonderful triumphant moment, but then it lasts literally 2 seconds, and then you're back down to the bottom. And it's this constant, ebb and flow that, to me, dictated, the closest genre that you can map that ebb and flow onto is is a thriller, So in a way, the genre or the genre tropes just kind of came organically from the kind of emotion I wanted to capture.
JK, I can call you that, not Fletcher, I think. Can I ask you what attracted you to the project and how you became involved? I think Fletcher is a character who kind of attracts and repels at the same time, and a very, compelling character to play. But can you tell us how you became involved?
Yeah, I got the script from Jason Reitman, who he and Helen Estabrook had started working with Damien on it, and they had suggested me as a possibility to play Fletcher, and Damien was amenable to it, and I got the script for the short as well as the feature, and that was really all that I needed. I thought it leapt off the page at me, and the character was just an actor's dream, and a guy that I connected with immediately and understood. Wasn't even a joke, dude. It's so great to have a character who his goal is so clear. The same with both of these characters, I think. And it was something that I felt lucky to be the guy to be thought of to bring it off the page.
Miles, it's an extremely physically demanding performance as well as an emotionally demanding one. Can I ask you how you sort of prepared for it?
Yeah, kind of what JK was saying, it was absolutely the most, fully formed script that I'd gotten. It really, just reading it, I felt like if we made a film that was, half as good as this script, then we would have a pretty great film, and Damien, did more than that. I mean, when I saw the film for the first time, I was truly, blown away, because what we did in 19 days, we filmed in 19 days. Damien edited it and everything in 10 weeks, and we had it up to Sundance in 4 months, so it was really kind of an amazing feat by Damien after JK and I were done. But yeah, for me, the biggest thing was just kind of, immersing myself in the jazz world, especially for drumming, because it is such a high skill set, and for me, I think it's the highest level of percussion is jazz, and so I played drums since I was 15, but never played any kind of jazz music, so I started taking lessons, and I did, we had about 3.5 weeks of lessons for that. And as far as the emotional stuff goes, it's all there. The character of Andrew is pretty, there's no confusion as to what, you know, the actor cliche is, okay, what's my motivation? It's drumming. You know, that's it, man. Like, to be the greatest jazz drummer that ever lived, and that's from page one, pretty much. It gets blurred maybe for a half second early on, but after that, it's go time, and that's really all he wants, and he knows that he knows that he's not going to stop. So yeah, it was just figuring out how to hold the stick traditionally, and playing 7/4 and 14/8, and trying to get those time signatures down.
Can I ask you about the on-set environment and the actual kind of filming process? Because jazz is obviously a form that we really associate with kind of improvisation and a very free-flowing form. And yet, obviously, this film is incredibly precise and really tight. So how did you kind of manage the on-set kind of environment?
Damien was just a real tyrant.
Physically, emotionally.
Yeah, I was. We're both still a little shell-shocked. But we love Damien, don't we?
We love him. We think that
He's clear in his
gotten
vision.
better and stronger every day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's that. I mean, that in a way, you speak to me also what was interesting to me. I guess it may be one of the reasons why other than just personal reasons, why I picked jazz, because it's kind of counterintuitive. You know, I think we expect stories like this a little bit in the classical world, for example, or in the world of dance, but jazz is sort of perceived as this kind of free-flowing thing. But the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize or maybe don't appreciate is the extent of technical training you have to go through just to be at that free-flowing stage. You know, Charlie Parker didn't wake up one morning and be Charlie Parker. You know, there's a process of becoming. So in a way, this wasn't a movie about improvisation. It wasn't a movie about those obviously very crucial elements of jazz. It was really about practice and about kind of honing technique. And you know, in terms of on set, yeah, everything was very planned out. Kind of, you know, I'd storyboarded everything, and we had sort of animatics for the musical sequences, and we sort of knew where the camera would be at every moment. But when you have people like Miles and J.K., you know, it's you know, it would sort of be a travesty to rein them in too much, you know. So it was important to me to kind of give these guys room to quite literally play, you know, and quite literally take things in their own direction. There's wonderful little moments that are sprinkled throughout that, you know, that are these guys' invention. And you know, at the end of the day, once you're on set, the actors become the characters. It's no longer what you wrote. You have to kind of go with or try to sort of bend to or control in some way what they've created as the characters, and it becomes better than what you wrote is what you hope, and with these guys, that's what happened.
Even though you personally wrote all those insults. That's from Damien. He seems like a nice guy, but deep down, he's really bitter over this teacher that he had, and he just had to get it all out.
A few years in Hollywood in the trenches will give you lots of ammunition for pages of insults.
Just one afternoon on the 405 really is all you need.
J.K. and Miles, can I ask about your process of working together, or did you absolutely not work together in terms
First of all, thank you for getting the billing correct there. We quickly settled into a rhythm of being the two doofuses that you see standing before you now. We ramped up the intensity when we were doing the work, and when Damien said cut, you know, it was just light and fun and goofy and stupid, the way I like it.
And
right, Miles?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Everything you just said sounded great to me. Just a big fan of your work.
And can I ask you, given that obviously the film has such a strength in its editing as well, how much of the actual filming aspects of it were you conscious of when you were on set?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about it, but the first time I saw the film, I was really kind of blown away. How, you know, because I think that's truly the director. Tone, suspense, and tension. That's 100% Damien and our editor Tom Cross. J.K. and I weren't acting suspense. You can't act, tone. You're really just kind of doing the scenes, and then they all piece it together. But yeah, I was not aware of a single close-up the entire time that we were filming. And I mean that honestly. Like, most of the time as an actor, you're very aware of your close-up. the whole set knows you're getting a close-up. You know, people are all calm, and you know they're setting up the lights, and it's very still, and it's like a big moment. But for this, Damien was shooting me like boom, and I had no idea. So that's why you see me making some of the faces I'm making, because I don't know that my face is going to be on a huge screen like this. Beautiful theater, by the way. Props to the guy who built it.
I don't think he's here.
Jeff, where's Jeff? But yeah, so, you know.
And finally, Damien, can I ask you about the fabulous kind of Charlie Parker anecdote that kind of really hangs the film together? And was this a point of original inspiration for you, or was it something, you know, that you came across in the process?
It was a story my dad would tell me, which maybe says something. But
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
While he was throwing shit at him. Yeah.
But actually, it kind of speaks to what I was saying before. I mean, Charlie Parker is fascinating to me because, like a lot of jazz musicians, there's sort of gaps in what we know about his life, and there's a lot of fuzziness about his teenage years, and basically the years before he became what we think of as the great musician that he became. What we do know is that when he was like 15, 16, playing sax in clubs in Kansas City, he was not thought to be a particularly promising saxophonist. And then at some point, 19 thereabouts, he comes and he starts playing, and it's like nothing anyone's ever heard. So I think that's why that story for historians and jazz musicians has taken on a lot of significance. There is a slight, kind of in-joke in the sense that most versions of the story don't actually involve the cymbal being thrown at his head. They have it kind of thrown more ritually on the ground as a kind of symbolic gesture of get off the stage. But it made sense to me that Fletcher would tweak it slightly to his own liking, which again is kind of what jazz history is about as well. It's about these kind of oral stories passed on that get tweaked and tweaked. So, but it's just one of those kind of primal myths that jazz is full of. It's part of why I love jazz history, is because there is so much still kind of shrouded in fog. And it's kind of, it's sort of a tale that you can just, for obvious reasons, musicians tell each other. And I remember kind of thinking about it a lot as I was trying to, as I was practicing until my hands were bleeding and wondering if, there was a light at the end of the tunnel.